As the story begins, we see a man emerge from the water after swimming. He takes in his surroundings and says to himself, "This isn't my world. My world is somewhere else, and I'll find it." This man, named Kevin, suddenly vanishes. The scene shifts to Kevin's everyday life, where he's sitting in a bar, visibly upset because he's lost all his money in the stock market. A girl named Molly sits next to him and asks, "What's wrong? You look down." Kevin responds, "I'm really stressed out, so please leave me alone." Molly, however, insists on staying, saying, "I like being around sad people, and I actually made a bet with my friend that I could cheer you up." Reluctantly, Kevin lets her stay, and they start chatting. As they talk, Kevin begins to enjoy Molly's company, and they quickly become close friends. Eventually, they get married and are happy together. Their happiness is short-lived. One day, on his way home from work, Kevin gets into a terrible accident when his car crashes into a truck. When he regains consciousness, he finds himself on a deserted road, completely unharmed. Confused, he looks around and only sees an old man nearby. He asks, "What happened to my car? My phone? I need to call my wife." The old man replies, "You can't do that, Kevin. You're in another world. I brought you here at the moment of your accident." The old man introduces himself as a benefactor, someone whose job is to move people between worlds. He takes Kevin to a nearby restaurant and explains, "I want you to become a shifter like me. Your job would be to bring people from the real world, those who are sad and angry, into this world." Kevin, skeptical and scared, demands proof. The benefactor presses some buttons on his watch, and a woman sitting nearby suddenly disappears. Kevin, now frightened, refuses the offer and pleads to be sent back to his wife. But the benefactor insists, "You can't leave until you agree to become a shifter." Despite Kevin's protests, the benefactor leaves him alone in this strange world. Exploring this new world, Kevin discovers that the people here are always angry and hostile. There are constant fights, and families are almost non-existent. Food is scarce, and people often resort to violence out of desperation. 5 years pass, and Kevin is still trapped in this world. News reports constantly remind him that he declined the benefactor's offer. Desperate to return to his wife, Kevin seeks out another shifter but has no luck. During his time here, Kevin befriends a man named Gabriel, and together, they write a forbidden book. Kevin also discovers a person with technology, can show images of the real world. He eagerly watches footage of his wife and begs to be taken back to her. The man tells him it's impossible. He can only see her, not return. One day, Kevin and Gabriel join a group of protesters. As they stand facing the police, one of the protesters suddenly vanishes. Police start shooting, and Kevin and Gabriel hide in a building. Kevin realizes that the man who disappeared must have been a shifter. Tells Gabriel, "I just need to find a shifter to get out of here." Gabriel, frustrated, responds, "Give it up. You'll never find a shifter or escape this place." Later, Kevin visits a shopping mall and sees a young boy. The boy, about 7 years old, disappears right before Kevin's eyes, only to reappear moments later. Kevin is left stunned, realizing that this boy might be his chance to find a way back to his world. Seeing the child vanish, Kevin is reminded of his own son, who had disappeared in a mall years ago. This memory deepens his sorrow. In the mall, Kevin encounters a man named Nadir, who addresses him by his real name and invites him to his home, saying, "I know you're hungry. Come, eat with my family." Nadir lives with his wife and 2 daughters, making him a rarity in this world where families are scarce. Nadir is aware that Kevin remembers things from the real world, including the Bible, which most people here have forgotten. He proposes a deal. If Kevin teaches his daughters what he remembers, Nadir will let him stay and provide food. Just as Kevin begins to consider the offer, alarms ring throughout the city. They turn on the news and learn that the benefactor, absent from this world for many years, returning tomorrow. This news reignites Kevin's hope, returning to his world. Determined, Kevin goes back to the man with the technology that shows people in the real world and asks for Molly's location. The man explains that Kevin needs a special shifter bracelet to track people, which only the benefactor possesses. Kevin realizes he must obtain the bracelet by confronting the benefactor. So he gets a gun from Gabriel, even though guns are illegal in this world. The next morning, the benefactor arrives amid tight security, revered by the people as a deity. Kevin, however, has other plans. He sneaks into the benefactor's restaurant, But before he can pull the trigger, the benefactor spots the gun and vanishes. Police, alerted to Kevin's intentions, start shooting at him. Kevin takes cover and begins to accept that he may never see Molly again. At this moment, the benefactor reappears and says, "Years ago, I offered you a chance to become a shifter, but you refused. That's why you're suffering now. If you had accepted, you could have been a hero, or at least home with your wife." Kevin, despondent, replies, "I don't want to be a hero, I just want to go home to Molly." The benefactor questions him, "Where did you get the gun? Did Gabriel give it to you?" He then uses his device to teleport Gabriel to the spot. After reprimanding Gabriel, the benefactor tells Kevin, "I know everything happening here, including what you write in your Bible." With that, he disappears. As the benefactor vanishes, the police outside resume firing. A bullet hits Gabriel, killing him, while Kevin manages to hide and escape. In his escape, Kevin notices a shifter bracelet in Gabriel's hand, realizing Gabriel had kept it a secret that he was a shifter. Using the bracelet, Kevin hopes to locate Molly. He puts it on, enters some codes, and teleports to another world, but it's not his world. Kevin tries again and finds himself in the water, just like at the story's beginning. Realizing it's still not his world, he teleports once more. This time, he ends up in a place resembling a mental hospital, filled with various versions of Gabriel, all seemingly after him. Kevin spots a crying girl, who angrily accuses him, "My life is a mess because of you. You asked the benefactor to make me disappear, and I've been stuck here ever since." Feeling guilty, Kevin apologizes to the girl, Tina, but their conversation is cut short as the Gabriel variants start attacking. Kevin quickly enters new codes and teleports again just as they're about to shoot him. He lands in another world and comes face to face with another version of himself. This doppelganger, confused, asks Kevin, "Who are you, and how did you get here?" Kevin, overwhelmed and at a loss for words, simply apologizes. The doppelganger notices the device on Kevin's wrist. The doppelganger demands, "Where did you get this device? Hand it over, and I'll give you whatever you want." But Kevin refuses, determined to reunite with his wife, no matter the cost. As the other man reaches for a weapon, Kevin quickly inputs a code and teleports back to the world where the benefactor resides. He lands at Nadir's house, only to find Nadir gravely injured by police gunfire. They mistakenly believed Nadir was hiding Kevin. Before passing away, Nadir expresses hope that he will escape this world someday. Desperate, Kevin heads to the man with the monitors, using the shifter device to locate Molly. Just as the man finds Molly's location, police burst in, closing in on Kevin. But before they can arrest him, Kevin receives the coordinates and inputs them into the device, transporting himself back to his real world. He arrives at a mall where Molly, now older, is stunned to see him after all these years. She is also angry, accusing him of abandoning her. Kevin insists, "I never left you," showing her his wedding ring and explaining how he fought to return to her. Molly, however, reveals that she is remarried, leaving Kevin devastated. "Please, don't do this. I can't live without you," pleads. Molly responds, "If you want to be with me, then find our lost child and bring him back. Only then can we start over." At that moment, the benefactor reappears and teleports Kevin back to the shifter's world. Furious, the benefactor taunts, "Did you think you could just leave? Now you'll face the consequences for defying me." Unfazed, Kevin listens as the benefactor presents him with two options: return to his old life with Molly, or send the girl, Tina, back to her family, whom he had unintentionally condemned to a mental asylum. The benefactor, expecting Kevin to choose selfishly, is taken aback when Kevin chooses to save Tina instead. True to his word, the benefactor sends Tina back to her family, where she is joyfully reunited with them. Enraged by Kevin's selflessness, the benefactor shoots him. Kevin awakens in a new world, standing outside a bar. He walks in and spots Molly, his wife, sitting alone. Taking this as a second chance, he approaches her and asks, "You look tired. What happened?" Molly, looking drained, replies, "It was an 18-hour shift, and I just want to go home." As they chat, Molly receives a call from her daughter, revealing she is married in this world. Kevin, learning that she is estranged from her husband, feels a glimmer of hope. They become friends, and Kevin eventually invites her out for tea. Over time, they grow close and get married, starting a new life together. In the final scene, Kevin reflects, "I know this isn't my original world, but I'm willing to adjust as I have Molly with me." The story concludes with Kevin embracing his new reality, content with having found love once more, even in a different world.